4,000 jobs in the month of September. The stronger than expected report from the Labor Department was up. Suggests companies are confident in the economy.
All of this is a sign of a historic and unprecedented.
Recovery efforts go on across the southeast more than a week after Helene made landfall, for more than 220 deaths as thousands remain without power and basic supplies, including water.
Broken. I lost my mother, my grandmother, my children. We are not okay.
Briefing room, Biden told reporters he's not sure next month's election will be peaceful if Trump lost. The president does, however, have
best said, and the things that he said last time out when he didn't like the outcome of the election were.
Hey everybody, I'm meteorologist Nate Harrington. The big picture across the country shows a snaking cold front from the northeast Mexico, high pressure out west, and another clipper system moving through the Pacific Northwest. All of that means east means more rain chances and cooler temperatures. The dangerous fire weather and heat out west continues while we watch.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Sharon Tazwell. The U.S. economy receiving a huge boost Friday following a better than expected 54,000 jobs last month as the unemployment rate dropped to 4.1%. And it's been the spotlight now that the Federal Reserve has all but declared victory on inflation.
After discipline to remember.
When workers do well, the economy is stronger, the nation is stronger, and this jobs report is an example of that.
U.S. job growth surged last month. Employers added an estimated 254,000. That's according to data released Friday by the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, much higher than the monthly total of August. On top of the jobs added, the unemployment rate dropped from 4.2% to 4.1%. Acting Secretary of Labor Julie Su says this latest jobs report is not a declaration of victory, but rather a declaration of progress 4 years after the start of the pandemic.
Real wages continue to be up, inflation rate and the interest rate are going down, and all of this is a sign of a historic and unprecedented economic recovery.
The jobs report comes just weeks after the Federal Reserve decided to cut interest rates by 0.5 percentage point, indicating an elusive soft landing could be reached. Even with this positive jobs report, another rate cut could be on the horizon.
We are seeing that inflation has come back down and interest rates have been falling. And today we saw the jobs market continues to expand. That's very, very good progress.
Carla Reddit, Spectrum News.
After Helene made landfall, thousands are without water after the storm severely damaged water utilities in the southeast. You're looking at before and after photos from western North Carolina after flooding tore through the city of Asheville's water system. More than 1.8 million people are living under a boil water advisory. Officials say repairs could take weeks. Residents say they're just trying to survive.
We'll take potable water and a face in our bodies and then collect all of that into a bucket as gray water, and then we'll take that and we'll use that for toileting, for flushing the toilets and stuff like that. It's very interesting kind of going back to having nothing available and then trying to figure out how to be resourceful with what you had to I guess, survive.
I don't stand by that window.
Well, Helene is the deadliest hurricane to hit the mainland U.S. since Katrina in 2005. The storm killed more than 200 people, and hundreds remain unaccounted for. With just over 4 weeks to go until Election Day, both Donald Trump and Kamala Harris spent Friday on the campaign trail. Both candidates hitting key swing states crucial in their path to victory. Campaigns have for voters just over 30 days until voters hit the polls.
As the calendar continues to move towards November 5th, both Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump are pushing out big-name surrogates in the final days of the election. On Friday, the Harris campaign announced former President Barack Obama will hit the swing states for the vice president beginning next week, while the Trump campaign announced a long list of lawmakers plus CEO Elon Musk set to join him Saturday at his rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, his first trip back to the site of his first assassination attempt this summer.
We're going back to Butler, by the way. We're going to go back and finish our speech.
Harris spent the end of the week in the Midwest with a campaign event alongside former Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney and 2 rallies Friday in the swing state of Michigan, trying to win over blue-collar workers and remind them of the losses the manufacturing industry saw under Trump's presidency.
Then America lost nearly, including tens of thousands of jobs in Michigan. And those losses started before the pandemic, so we're clear. Making Donald Trump one of the biggest losers of manufacturing jobs in American history.
Trump also spent time in Michigan this week making his pitch to voters in Saginaw County Thursday, promising to oversee manufacturing growth.
We can be a nation that dreams big again. We can be a nation that builds things again. We can reclaim our pride, our dignity, our glorious American destiny. But only if we make a clean break from the failures of the past 4 years.
While Trump is in Pennsylvania on Saturday, Harris will take a step back from the campaign trail and head to North Carolina, where she will survey the damage left behind by Hurricane Helene. In Washington, Cassie
Fair, but says he's not sure it will be peaceful. Biden made his first ever visit to the White House press briefing room Friday, where he took questions from reporters.
Hey, look.
Do you have confidence that it will be a free and fair election and that it will be peaceful?
2 separate questions.
Very much.
I'm confident it'll be free and fair. I don't know whether it'll be peaceful. The things that Trump has said and the things that he said last time out when he didn't like the outcome of the election were very dangerous. If you notice, I noticed that the vice presidential Republican candidate did not say he'd accept the outcome of the election. They haven't even accepted the outcome of the last election. So I'm concerned about what they're going to do.
The president's remarks underscore the concerns of the government about the possibility of violence during or admit Donald Trump lost the 2020 election and falsely claimed there were only peaceful demonstrations on January 6th. Prosecutors reviewing new evidence in the murder case of the Menendez brothers. Coming up on Spectrum News, why it's now gaining attention more than 30 years later.
The 2024 election will decide who leads our nation and the balance of power in Congress, impacting all of us. From Capitol Hill to the Oval Office, let Spectrum News be your resource for balanced, in-depth coverage with our dedicated experts in local politics. Strengthening democracy by informing your community. That's our mission. Available on all of your favorite devices.
What if you never had to worry about what you could do? Because you could do anything. Anywhere could be the center of everywhere. The boundaries only existed to be pushed. So the only limit you faced was how big you could dream. What would you do then? Some pretty cool stuff, I bet. Yeah, that'd be some life. That'd be life unlimited.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. 2 milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable. The sad reality is, fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kitchen now.
You're not gonna get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff.
Mama!
Like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
to Spectrum News. Your weather on the ones. Friday afternoon temperatures, another hot one across the southern tier. You've got temperatures from the 90s to the triple digits from the desert southwest all the way. Rain showers associated with that front that we'll be talking about in a little bit more detail coming up here. But a nice fall-like day on Friday for the northern tier of states from Bismarck, North Dakota to Minneapolis to Chicago. Temperatures in the 60s and 70s. That big dome of high pressure we noted for you about 10 minutes ago, that is going to stay put in the western half of the country while that cold front continues to stretch through the east and the area of low pressure that we'll discuss further in your tropical update in 10 minutes. Number one, heat alerts continue for California, the desert southwest. Excessive heat warnings and heat advisories posted. No matter what, it is hotter than it should be for the first weekend of October, and these heat alerts will continue through Saturday and some even through Sunday. And then we are covering a lot of territory here with a red flag warning that goes from Oregon all the way over to the Dakotas. Now you add in the very dry conditions and then you add in a lot of wind and you have the recipe for a really extreme fire weather. Some wildfires spark up in the Intermountain West and the upper Midwest. But we turn our attention to the East Coast with more rain chances, light to moderate rain mostly. Could see some downpours though through the day on Saturday. Saturday morning, showers and storms go across the East Coast and they should stay offshore. And then we turn our attention down into the Gulf of Mexico. By Sunday, early next week, we could have something forming down there. Still a very low chance that we'll discuss further in just a little bit, but the heaviest rain really stays well offshore, maybe just a few heavier downpours in the Gulf Coast states. But overall, a pretty quiet next 24 hours, and that means more warm temperatures from the upper Midwest all the way through the desert Southwest. We talk about the cold front and the tropics too in 10 minutes.
It's the legal case everyone's to jail more than 3 decades after murdering their parents. The district attorney in Los Angeles is reviewing new evidence in the sensational case. And joining me now to break this all down is attorney Ethan Behrman of the Behrman Group. Ethan, there is no question that Eric and Lyle Menendez killed their parents. So what is this new evidence?
Well, this is fascinating, and this is the power of media specifically is what is causing this to happen. There are two things. One, there was I believe one of the filmmakers behind the new Menendez brothers show on Netflix uncovered a letter that was allegedly written by one of the brothers when he was 13 or 14 years old that talked about the abuse that he allegedly received at the hands of his father. This is very serious sexual abuse that we're talking about too, by the way, that's being alleged by the Menendez brothers. That letter becomes very important because there was a mistrial, and in the trial that ended up convicting them, what's so fascinating is that the court did not allow the majority of the evidence related to the alleged abuse, and then they were convicted. The second piece of evidence is actually another Peacock docu-series on the band Menudo, and one of the band members in the docu-series when he was 13 or 14 years old alleged that Jose Menendez, the boy's father, the twins, or not twins, excuse me, the brother's father, raped him. And so these two pieces of evidence may lead to a possible overturning of the murder conviction. And the judges in California actually have the power to review upon the recommendation of the DA's office.
Wow. All right. So, Ethan, what are the actually be set free?
Well, interestingly enough, there is one option where the judge would just review the new evidence, say, I'm going to reduce it from a murder charge to a manslaughter charge. They've already served the time related to a manslaughter charge, and so they'd be free to go. Remember, the DA could also review the evidence and say, this isn't sufficient. Remember, the allegation is that they shot them in the back, the parents. They were adults at the time that they murdered their parents, and one didn't even live in the home. So the question just becomes, how sufficient is this evidence to overcome the murder conviction?
Right. And Ethan, as you had mentioned, the brothers are the topic of a new hit Netflix show and a new documentary. Is this new focus on their case having any impact on the courts?
Well, so interestingly enough, I will be curious. Again, it depends on the DA first. But what's interesting is, so I'm also an adjunct professor at Loyola. 700 felony convictions tossed out since 1989. In the time that DA Gascon has been the district attorney, they have reviewed 300 cases that have been referred back to the courts, of which only 4 have been overturned. So this is going to be very, very interesting to see how this plays out. But there's a lot of politics involved. I think the Menendez brothers' attorneys have been doing the absolute best that they can to try and get this tossed out. But it absolutely, to how you started this, Sharon, this has the public's attention. This is fascinating to watch, and we're about to find out if it's going to succeed.
So interesting. Can't wait to see what happens from this. All right, Ethan Bierman from the Bierman Group, as always, thanks so much.
Thank you, Sharon.
Sean Diddy Combs' criminal sex trafficking case has been assigned to a new judge. There is no explanation for the change. The previous judge of the case in the New York Detention Center as he awaits trial. Combs appealed the decision and has pleaded not guilty to the charges. The Supreme Court says it will consider whether to block a $10 billion lawsuit filed by Mexico against U.S. gun manufacturers. Mexico claims gun distributors' new firearms are being sold to traffickers along the border who smuggled them into their country. The gun makers asked the judges to undo an appeals court ruling that allowed the lawsuit to go forward despite legal protections for the firearm industry. The justices will weigh whether federal law prevents Mexico from suing the companies. The future of farming going high-tech. Coming up on Spectrum News, your look at what's changing in the farming industry.
With millions of school-age children, impact on their health and well-being.
The majority of school districts aren't doing comprehensive regular water quality testing.
As CO2 levels rise in a space, cognitive function takes a direct decline.
We visit 2 school districts working to create safe and healthy environments for their students.
Watch Exploring Your Health, Curing Our Classrooms. Available on the Spectrum News app.
Never have to worry about thinking too big? Because you have a connection that's ready for anything. That's Life Unlimited. That's Spectrum.
My dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. Now that he's a grandfather, he says, "I love you" to my son every time he sees him. My advice to all the fathers out there, forget the cultural restrictions. They grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious moment.
Food isn't just fuel to live, it's fuel to grow. My family relied on public assistance to help provide meals for us. These meals fueled my involvement in theater and the arts as a child, which fostered my love for acting. The Feeding America network of food banks helps millions of people put food on the table. When people are fed, futures are nourished. Join the movement to end hunger, and together we can open endless possibilities for people to thrive. Visit feedingamerica.org/actnow.
Spectrum News, and as we track the tropics for you, your eyes first go to Hurricane Kurt way out in the Atlantic, and we have Leslie following very close behind as a tropical storm. Neither one of those storms has any bearing on our forecast whatsoever. And we look to the Gulf of Mexico, unfortunately, for an area of possible development. But it's a couple of things that we have to tell you about. Probably seen a lot on social media about this being a repeat of Helene. That is not the case at all. Let's debunk some myths for you right now. An area of low pressure is there, but it's very disorganized. Maybe something tropical organizes there in the next few days. It looks like maybe next week, but an interaction with a cold front is going to stymie that development. At the very least, Florida expected to see a lot of rain as we head into next week. Rain to the mid-Atlantic states all the way up to New England, and then you look at the rainfall rainfall from that area of possible tropical development down in the Gulf of Mexico. That would be for Florida on late Monday into Tuesday. That's where some of the heaviest rain could fall. There's still a lot to unpack with that forecast, but over the next 5 days, maybe an inch of rain in some areas across New Hampshire and Maine with that secondary cold front and that Clipper system, but all the heavier rainfall will be down in the peninsula of Florida. We could be talking about 3, 4, maybe even 5 inches of rain if things line up, unfortunately, correctly. Sunday, cooler air across the northern tier while temperatures stay very, very toasty in places like Phoenix at 110, Dallas 92, Memphis at 90. But some cooler air will continue to spill into the Great Lakes states and the Northeast by Monday as that secondary front moves in. Now, this secondary front is going to establish some cooler air on the eastern side of the October 9th through the 13th. So we're talking the middle of next week all the way through next weekend. Cooler air across the East Coast while that dome of high pressure stays put and the upper level ridge enforces more heat across the southwest and, of course, the Intermountain West. And hey, great time to look at some fall foliage, especially in the northeastern portion of the country. You've got a lot of beautiful fall foliage ongoing in New England and the mid-Atlantic states. Unfortunately, for folks in North Carolina still dealing with the impacts of Helene, starting to see some peak color. Let's just think about those folks as we go through the weekend.
If you're just joining us, here's what you need to know. The U.S. economy added more than 250,000 jump from the month prior. The robust growth topped economists' expectations. Crews in the southeast search for hundreds of missing victims of Hurricane Helene. Officials say more than 200 are dead and hundreds are unaccounted for. Helene is the deadliest hurricane to hit the U.S. since Katrina in 2005. Israel launched overnight strikes in Beirut, targeting a potential successor to Hezbollah's leader. Iran's supreme leader announced Friday the Iranian missile attack on Israel was, quote, the least punishment, adding Iran could attack again if necessary. And that's what you need to know. Rapper Eminem will soon be a grandpa. He announced his daughter, Haley Jade, is expecting her first child. He released the news in a music video for his song Temporary, featuring Skylar Grey. Now, at one point, Haley Jade is seen giving her father a blue shirt of home videos of Haley Jade and Eminem spliced with footage from her recent wedding. Now, shortly after the release, she posted on Instagram that the baby is due next year. Well, the World Dairy Expo is underway in Wisconsin, and farmers from across the U.S. made their way to see what awaits in the future of their field. Spectrum's Cody Taylor stopped by the expo to take a closer look at how technology plays a part in farming.
Lori Winkleman's family owns a farm with 65 cattle in Watertown, Wisconsin.
We milk 65 cows, a mixture of Brown Swiss and Holsteins. Here at World Dairy Expo, we have 2 of our own, and then we have 6 animals that are tied in with us. We kind of have a team working together.
Winkleman is a nutritionist that works with many different sizes and types of farms. She says technology is playing a huge role in all of them.
Whether it's monitoring daily milk production, we have rumination monitors, we have activity monitors. There's things that give us.
Winkleman says technology has evolved a lot. Glaucio Lopez works in dairy monitoring, and the company he works for provides some of that technology to farms.
You know, little, very light device here. We have the technology that it tracks all the movement that a cow does during that 24-hour in a day and the rumination.
Prior to this technology being created, Lopez says farmers would have to go out and physically track their behavior. He says this device frees up time for farmers like Winkleman.
This technology, when it came in, it allowed the cows to tell you what's happening because we're tracking their behavior, so they're telling you exactly what is happening.
While technology helps to make farmers' lives easier, Winkleman says there's still many things like inflation and the unknown of how much a farmer will be paid that can make life much harder.
So I would say labor and milk marketing are the 2 bigger ones that are unknowns and hardest to deal with. And they're also the hardest to get your arms wrapped around.
In farms and showcased at the World Dairy Expo in coming years. She hopes events like this bring more attention to the importance of farming throughout the country. In Madison, Cody Taylor, Spectrum News.
Now a story to make you smile. New research suggests dolphins also smile, especially when they play together. Well, Italian and French scientists studied nearly 24 dolphins while they interacted with each other, their human trainers, and on their own. They found the dolphins almost always made an open mouth expression comparable to a smile while they were playing with each other, something they didn't do with humans or alone. Researchers believe dolphins may smile to stop their games from turning into a fight due to miscommunication. I'm Sharon Tazwell. Thanks for watching. Our Spectrum News in 90s coming up right after this short break. Stay with us.
Friday nights, The Big Deal with Errol Lewis, where Spectrum News' local political journalists break down the most important issues shaping our nation.
Here's the deal. People need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Friday nights at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on Spectrum News Plus. Available on all of your favorite devices exclusively on Spectrum.
At Spectrum Enterprise, we give over 80% of the Fortune 500 the technology solutions they need to meet their growing business demands. Whether it's ultra-fast connectivity, seamless transactions, safe and secure data, or reliable, get a network you can rely on with our 100% uptime SLA guarantee.
Whether it's our stories, the warmth of our laugh, or our family's secret sauce, we all bring something different to the table. So make some space. The power of connection is waiting right outside your comfort zone. Learn how you can help strengthen your community at belongingbeginswithus.org/teamup.
Our journey towards improving mental health doesn't always present a clear path. Every Thursday on Your Mental Health, we listen to voices across our communities, discussing the challenges of everyday life and presenting accessible resources to guide us along that light the way to a healthier you.
Your Mental Health with Dr. Nicole Clark, Thursdays on Spectrum News Plus, available on all your favorite devices. Spectrum News Plus, local stories, connecting communities. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your